Welcome to Fitness Friday, combining drums, music, and healthy lifestyle. With today's host, Dave Felix. Today's episode, stretching and meditation for drummers.
Yo, what's up everyone? Dave Felix here. Welcome to the very first DW Fitness Friday. So I figured I would take this opportunity to talk about a couple things that I end up having to talk about with many of the people that I teach privately or online, and some of the things that I've talked about in my instructional course that's on my website. And I don't see a lot of people talking about these things in drumming. If you pay attention to, if you're an athlete, playing sports or doing yoga or anything else, all this stuff is pretty common. But for some reason, drummers just don't realize that we're athletes also. So a lot of this is about maintenance and self-care and recuperation, especially on tour. So whether it's, stretching or warming up before a show or cooling down after a show, or meditation, it's all part of this approach that I seldom see talked about in the drum sphere. So we're going to do a little bit of that stuff today. And by the way, I'm not a yoga teacher. I'm not a meditation teacher. I just have dabbled in a little bit of everything. So I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm just saying, hey, give this a shot. And if you want to dive in further, there's plenty of resources. For the meditation stuff, I'm a big fan of the Sam Harris app called Waking Up. There's also Calm and Headspace. If you want to get into stretching and yoga for athletes, my friend Yenny Tarma has a Instagram page called Stronger with Yoga. That's fantastic. You should check that out. She's amazing. You can get really deep with that stuff there and do it properly. But this is just some very common stuff that is can be life-changing for people. So we're going to start off with a couple arm stretches here that you can use for shows, or just, generally speaking. So the very first one is if you're going to put your arm straight out here, like this, right? And then you're going to take your other hand and you're going to pull straight back. And you always want to go in and out of these things nice and slow. Never want to go fast. So this is going to be getting the inside of your forearm here, right? And you just do, maybe 10 or 15 seconds, something like that, in and out. And slowly in and out. And we can try the other one here. And, you want to kind of go back and forth between the two. And then each time you do this, you can get a little bit deeper. You never want to force anything. It should just be nice and easy. So that's going to get all in here. Now for the top of the forearm, we put the hand like this, and we're going to take our other hand, we're going to push here, and you're kind of going to go back at an angle diagonally. And that's going to get the top of the forearm and on top of the elbow here. Right. And then in and out, nice and slow. And then the other one I like to do is upside down. And you see how I'm kind of twisting sort of diagonally on this one too. And this gets the top of the forearm as well. So they're very simple, easy stretches to do. And this also gets a little bit of the bicep too. So nothing crazy there. I'm also a big fan of getting body work done, sports massage. Obviously we can't do that now, but if you want to palpate and sort of pay attention to any kind of muscle buildup or gunk or scar tissue in your forearms, it's a very, very common place people have to have worked on that they just have no clue about. So that would be for the arms. And then the neck and the head, just rolling the head around and getting all those, everything is connected. So getting all those muscles that are in the back of your neck and your traps and your scalenes that wrap under your collarbones, all that stuff. Just paying attention to that, it might have been oh man, I slept a little weird, or my neck's kinked out or just this alone. I find I have to do that constantly. So if you're short like I am, the back of your neck tends to get kind of messed up, and if you're tall, your lower back tends to get messed up. So depending on your body type, there's different sort of things you need to pay attention to. Okay, so that's the sort of real brief upper body. Now, two of the biggest things stretching that people need to do that they just have no clue about are basically your hip flexors and your psoas, which is underneath your guts up here, and your glutes. So that stuff's all connected, right? So one thing we can do here is let's start off with like a lunge. And so this is going to be very, very simple here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my knee straight down into the ground, and I'm going to put my other, I'm actually going to switch this up because I crashed my bike the other day and my knee's still hurting. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take my left knee here and I'm just going to push it, drive it straight into the ground. And what you're going to do is you're going to kind of, you see I'm kind of like tilting my pelvis a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm opening up my pelvis and my hip, and you can really see I'm not moving very much, but you're changing the point of focus so you can really feel the top of your quad right here where all of this connects. You should feel that open up. And for me and for everyone that sits down all the time, that gets really, really, really tight. And because everything in your body's connected, you can be like, oh, my back hurts, and you might not or you think your groin hurts, and you might not realize it's actually your hips or your glutes. So, and same thing. So like, sort of 20 seconds, something like that, really just like push that in and feel that open up. And the longer you hold it, the more you're going to feel it open up. So for the other perspective here, going to look like that. And if you need to put your hands on something, to sort of balance, that's cool too. So that's going to be the lunge. And then once you get comfortable with that, you do that a few times. You can take it even deeper by extending and then putting your arm up in the air. So this is like a low lunge. And then what this does is this gets your psoas, and this opens up your obliques and everything. And this takes it even deeper. I can probably put my left foot out in front of me a little bit more here. Oh, so these I do every day, and they're huge for me. They really make a noticeable difference. So if you do that on the other side here, so start off with the regular lunge and go down into the low lunge, and put the left arm up in the air. And remember to just breathe when you're doing this stuff. It's really important. People have a tendency to hold their breath and tighten up, and they have no idea. So you can feel all of this open up on either side. That's huge. Now, the other big one here is like another typical yoga stretch is like a pigeon pose. So this is like killer for the glutes. And a lot of people store a bunch of stuff in their glutes. So we'll start off on the right side here so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to put my right leg out in front of me here, and don't push this. Like, don't, just whatever's comfortable for you. Your butt doesn't need to touch the ground. Don't go crazy here. What really matters is that you just sit straight down. You put all your weight in your right butt cheek and your glute. And especially if this is your first time doing it and you've never done this before, you haven't done it in a while, this stuff's gonna be really tight and your flexibility is gonna be probably pretty stiff, pretty bad. So don't go crazy here. And as you get comfortable with this, you can see I'm sitting a little bit deeper here. And then you can even lean forward a little bit once you get more comfortable with this. And again, you're going to feel that all here. So we're going to do that the other side now, left side, just nice and easy. And you can feel that going from your lower back, your iliolumbar ligament, down to your glute, down to your hamstrings. It's all connected. We take that a little bit. Oh yeah, a little bit lower. Yeah, these are huge for me. So I do those every day. One other thing that I do is I roll my legs out on a foam roller. So I don't have one of those here because I left it in Los Angeles, but those are huge. You have to, through overuse of our muscles, we develop scar tissue. So we need to have that scar tissue broken up by a competent body worker or by rolling out, or both usually. So so those foam rollers are crucial. They're huge. Normally when I go to the gym every day in normal times, I start off by rolling my legs out and doing these stretches before I do anything. And over months, I went from like not being able to touch my toes to being like so much more flexible and not having like back problems or tweaking anything out. Or so yeah, it's nothing crazy. It's pretty simple stuff. And they're very basic yoga stretches. So if you've done any yoga, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I've done this a million times. So just start with that stuff and see how you feel. The most important thing with everything is doing this every day. Little bit every day builds up. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need to be doing this for like an hour. Speaking of that, so now we're going to move to a little bit of mindfulness meditation. So this has been a complete life changer for me. I started doing this years ago, and I keep saying during normal times. During normal times, people have anxiety. They struggle with anxiety, whether it's just kind of a normal level or if you have some sort of serious sort of anxiety. And people store so much tension, and they really have no idea. And that's the number one thing I have to help people out with. All these huge drummers I teach, like they're just storing so much tension, and it's impossible to have like a fluid, healthy use of your body if you're not breathing and if you're not relaxed. So that all of this stuff starts to me with mindfulness meditation. And the whole, people may not know this out there, but like the whole reason yoga exists is it was a practice to get ready to meditate. All those stretches and stuff were because you were going to be sitting down for a few hours and not moving. So you're limbering up to sit down. And if you compare that to drumming, you can see like, there's some parallels there. What do I do before I play a show? I probably just do this, and then, not me, but most people just do this, run out on stage, play, and then they get off stage and then they have a beer and a pizza. So you can see how a lot of people are messed up. So anyway, this all starts with breathing, really. So I wanted to talk about a couple types of breathing, and then we'll do a little bit of mindfulness, and then we'll sort of see where we're at here. So this is, again, one of the things I have to do with everyone, and it's a very quick way to see how someone is living their life, really. You can tell a lot from how someone breathes. So before I started meditating, I was very busy, very stressed out. I've talked about this on a lot of podcasts and interviews. I was holding my breath all the time. So I would be stressed out and I realized I was like, and if you do that, you start just totally tweaking out, and it becomes this vicious cycle of anxiety. So whether you realize it or not. So being able to breathe properly and understand what that is huge. So when I tell most people to breathe, when I'm giving lessons, Skype lessons or in person, I say, let me just see you breathe. And what most people do is they clavicularly breathe. So what the clavicles meaning collarbone. So what most people do is they go like this. Right? They breathe up into their shoulders. And the problem with that is that kickstarts the fight or flight response. So, is there like a bear behind me? Do I have to run or do I have to fight? Or because it's a startle response. So if someone comes up behind you and scares you, you go, huh, right? Your shoulders come up. So you're breathing when you take a deep breath. A lot of people go, and then that gets them anxious. They don't realize it most of the time. And then they're feeling anxious, and then they breathe more like that, and it becomes this vicious cycle, and they get sort of tweaked out. So that's clavicular breathing, right? So if you want to take a couple deep breaths and not think about it and see where that's going in your body, just paying attention to that stuff is huge. So, so what we're going to do now is talk about how to breathe through the diaphragm. So I'm going to stand up here and sort of change this camera angle. Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay, so now the very first thing we want to do here is get like a good camera angle here. Okay, actually, yeah. All right, we'll do this. Okay, so now first step here is everyone holds their stomach in because they don't want to look fat, right? Regardless of if you're fat or not. So that makes your breathing shallow. So the first step here is I want you to be totally cool with just relaxing your stomach and letting your gut hang out. So like, and you probably don't even realize you're doing this. So if you put your hand here and then you just release that. So that's me just like letting it all hang out in front of all you people who are watching. So normally I'd be like that. Again, without even thinking about it, right? So I'm just letting that all hang out, right? And even if you're kind of like sticking your butt out, like that's fine too, whatever. So just let that all hang out, okay? And then now, if you look down at your feet, I want them about shoulder width apart, parallel. And let's bend the knees just a little bit. And you're going to relax that stomach. And what you're going to do is you're going to look straight ahead and you're going to inhale through the nose only. And when you inhale, you're going to let the stomach expand. So we're breathing through the diaphragm, right? So it's all going to be here. You're not going to have any action up here. I mean, you probably will because this is new to you. So just give it a shot. So it's going to look like this. And then you exhale through the mouth and the stomach comes in. And you may feel like you need to push the stomach in because this is the way you naturally breathe, but it's going to be backwards for a lot of people. So if you watch a baby breathe, this is how a baby breathes. So just let's try that. Take your time. There's no rush here. So I'll do a few of these here so you can see what's going on. So you may feel your stomach kind of like stutter out. That's okay. A lot of people hold a lot of tension in their stomach, so letting that go makes them feel vulnerable. So that's a very common thing. So if that happens, that's okay. And if you're starting to feel lightheaded, that's really common. I don't want you breathing like this all the time because you'll hyperventilate and pass out. But when you catch yourself holding your breath, this is a great way to center yourself. Like, I don't know about you, but if I'm really stressed out playing a huge show and I go to do a fill, chances are sometimes I'll go and hold my breath, right? So if you catch yourself doing that, this is a great way to just check back in and align yourself. So that would be breathing through your diaphragm. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, my Alexander technique, one of my Alexander technique teachers, Sandra Dager, hit me to this. We were talking about this breathing stuff, and she was like, just think about a joyful breath. Think about how you feel when you have a happy inhale, when you feel good. And it sounded kind of woo-woo and goofy to me. But if you take a second and you just think about feeling happy, this whole chest cavity just opens up in a way that like is hard to describe, but it's tough to access otherwise. So just think about feeling happy and take a deep breath. And that's going to be much more up here. So kind of check in with yourself with those two things, see how they feel. If you're yawning, that's cool. That's good. Don't hold it in. That's your body going, oh, I like this oxygen. I need that. So all of that stuff is now going to be used in this mindfulness meditation, right? So one of the things that I forgot to list here is a meditation cushion, right? So you can use a pillow, you can use you can sit in a chair, you can sit on your couch, you can sit on the ground. It's whatever is comfortable for you. There's no real rules here. But this is like this is a Yoga Works meditation cushion. They're like, I don't know, 40 or 50 bucks. They're awesome. I'm a huge fan of that stuff, especially if you haven't been doing enough of that stretching and you're not limber enough to sit in a full lotus. So I'm going to plop this on the ground here, right? And get this going. Okay. So now, one of the other things I have to talk with a lot of people about when I'm teaching is posture, right? A lot of people are like, oh, you're the posture guy. And I guess, but it's really just one piece of the puzzle. And I think a lot of people don't talk about that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use the lower back muscles right above your belt line on either side of your spine. And I want you to just sit up straight from there. Don't go crazy, but just think about pushing that in and having a string attached to the top of your head and your spine just lengthening, right? So we want to have as much of a straight line there as possible. And do the best you can with that. It's not a huge deal right now. So I'm sitting up straight, and try that diaphragm breathing again. And you can see how your diaphragm, now that you're sitting down, expands outward, but it also expands downward, right? So check that out, right? So also you can see how, because you're sitting down, it's a little bit more difficult because your stomach doesn't have as much room to expand, but it's coming out and down into the floor, right? So now meditation. Meditation is, people get so freaked out about it they don't even want to try it. So I want to make this really, really clear. You cannot screw this up. There's no way to mess this up. It's impossible. So all that matters is that you sit down and you do it. So what this is, very simply, is you just, as long as you sit down, let's say 10 minutes, let's do that. But even if you want to do 5 minutes, whatever, and you're focusing on your breathing, that's it. You're focusing on your breathing, your mind wander all over the place. That's okay. But you bring your mind back to center with the breathing. That's your anchor. So the whole point of this eventually is, like, our minds are constantly running these different programs. And a lot of times we end up living in the past. We end up, having theories about the future, what that's going to be. We live in the past, future, and that creates a lot of anxiety. So, like, living in the present, that's so common, especially if you live in LA. Live in the present, man. Like, it's a cliche for a reason, but it's an easy thought, but it's an easy concept to grasp, but it's difficult in reality. So the breathing is going to anchor you to that present moment. So this is not about not thinking. People go, okay, I'm going to sit down and not think. And then they go, oh, I'm not thinking about not thinking. And I think about not thinking about not thinking. And then they freak out and then just stop doing it. Don't worry about it. So all we're going to do here is we're going to just focus on the breathing. And not if, but when you catch yourself holding your breath or stop breathing or inhaling and not exhaling, or exhaling and not inhaling, that's okay. Just notice it and then start breathing again and let it go. So, like, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab my phone and I'm going to put a timer. I'm going to open up the Sam Harris app, which I love. And they have guided meditations, which are fantastic. I highly recommend the 50-day course, which is just on the app. But I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. We'll just do 5 minutes, okay? So let's open up this app and timer, and we're going to do 5 minutes here. And we're just going to, I like doing this with my eyes closed. You don't have to. So what we're going to do now is let's just do 5 minutes of breathing like that. So here we go. So some of you might already feel really relaxed. I mean, it's pretty amazing how quickly this helps anxiety. So keep going as I'm talking here. So the mindfulness aspect of this is paying attention to where you're holding tension. So if we start at the top of the head, let's focus on our crown here, right? Like these muscles in the back of your head, your scalp. Really pay close attention to if you feel any tightness there. Let's move down to the eyes. Eyes are a huge source of tension. A lot of people, when they're closing their eyes doing this meditation, they're squinting. See if you can relax your eyelids. It's surprising how much tension people hold there. Right? Just let your lids drop. You don't have to scrunch your eyelids. Just relax that. Relax your temples. But what about your ears? How do your ears feel? And then we move down to the jaw. This is a huge place where people hold tension. So what I want you to do is pay attention to your tongue. And I want you to let your tongue just sit on the bottom of your mouth and see how that relaxes your whole facial structure. This is one of the most common things I have to address with people. And if you want to open your mouth a little bit, that's fine. We're just going to let that whole thing drop. And see how that feels with just the head being more relaxed. And then let's move down to the back of the neck. For me, this is one of my places where I hold tension. So I have to, throughout the day, I have to release the back of my neck. Traps, see how those feel. Maybe you're shrugging, you don't realize it. Your shoulders, let your arms just hang down. Take a couple deep breaths. Moving down to the chest. A lot of people's chest is tight and blocked up. We spend a lot of our time crossed over protecting ourselves. That's why when you open up to play the ride, a lot of people, their time fluctuates. They feel vulnerable, right? So this can get blocked up pretty easily. So see if you can just release that chest plate here. I just had to release the back of my neck right now. And that's another thing, your body map, right? You may not have that worked out. You may go trying to connect your brain to your shoulder and like you slouch instead, right? So some people are going to be able to do it immediately. Some people have to wire up their map of themselves, of proprioception, how the brain is connected to their body, right? That might not be easy for some people. Moving down to the stomach, a lot of people have a lot of tension in their stomach. Just let that belly pop out there, relax that. And then the knees, the quads, and then moving down to your feet, your toes, all the way from your big toe to your little toe. Just mindfulness is about connecting with the body. And my whole approach with teaching is connecting with the body and as deeply as possible so we can be sensitive. And eventually we're so connected that we can play and do whatever we want because we're so loose and fluid, and that connection is so strong, right? So it's that combination of being relaxed but powerful, right? They go like this. If you watch any master of movement, whether it's like Mike Tyson or Bruce Lee or Tiger Woods, they're always like super relaxed. That's where all that power comes from. There's your 5 minutes. So for some of you, that might have felt like an eternity. And for others, that might have felt like 30 seconds. So that's why it's so beneficial to do this daily, because you might start your day for 5 or 10 minutes and go, man, like that took forever. And so like if you're already like irritable, you're gonna go, okay, like let me keep that in mind as I go out and sort of conquer my day here. Or if you're like, man, that flew by, or like, oh, I'm feeling pretty good. Like it's just a great way to check in with yourself. And then as your day goes on, if you started your day with this mindfulness, it's so much easier to plug back into that mindset, especially if you're playing shows. It's so much easier to center yourself. If you, even though it's 10 years ago, it's crazy. you can pull up that video of me playing with Mars Volta on YouTube, and you can see me throughout the whole show grounding myself. And this is before I really started meditating seriously. But you can see me playing something that's exhausting, and then I have a second, and I just like ground myself into the earth. It's everything is coming from the ground up. So this isn't difficult. You just have to be patient and just do it. Even if you sit down for 5 minutes and your brain's all over the place, it doesn't matter. It's like you did it. That's all that matters. So daily practice is massive. It's so important. So Calm is a great app. Headspace is a great app. I love the Sam Harris app. There's a lot of extra goodies on there, talks and philosophical stuff, which is killer. But that 50-day course that's on the Sam Harris app gradually evolves throughout the 50 days. And it was really beneficial for me personally. So I'd highly recommend that. And if money's tight right now because of the COVID stuff, you can get it for free if you email them. So I would check that out. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's not a lot to it. It's just doing these simple things daily, and they compound, and it makes a huge difference in your life. So I guess what we can do is maybe see if we got any. Oh yeah, well, thanks for reminding me, Jules. If you want to go deeper into this stuff, you can head over to my website, and I have an instructional course that I came out with a couple years ago. That's on there called Getting Out of Your Own Way. All the information is on my website. If you want to book a Skype lesson with me, you can hit the contact section on my website and send me an email. There's my website right there. So I put out this course in June of 2018, and then I ended up, because I'm constantly studying and learning more, it's not a subscription. It's a streaming only course. You get everything at once. I'm not taking your credit card and charging you $30 a month forever, and you forget about it and you're wasting your money. You get everything at once. The beautiful thing is I'm constantly learning new stuff. So 6 months after I came out with the course, maybe I redid about 80% of it already. So, and I'm going to keep doing that forever. So, so the more I learn, the more you'll learn. And, in a couple of years, it's going to be a completely new thing. Entirely, I'm sure. So, and you'll have access to that forever. So yeah, so if you want to go deeper into this stuff, you can either check out Getting Out of Your Own Way, or you can book a Skype lesson. I'm most active on my Instagram. It's just @DaveElich. I'm not really on Facebook or Twitter because it's just an echo chamber mess. So I'm pretty much only on Instagram these days, and my website. So hit me up if you want to go deeper with this stuff. I mean, there's another, since this is the first Fitness Friday, there's another episode on June 5th at 9 a.m. Pacific time with Danny Markham. So you guys can check that out. And are we going to do some questions here? Do we have time to do that? No? Yes? I don't know. How does this working? No questions. Okay, well, that's that. I guess I just made a lot of sense then. So yeah, so give that a shot. If you want to keep me posted on how it's working for you. I'm seeing some comments coming in here. I'm glad that was helpful for some of you guys. I mean, it's really simple stuff. It's not rocket science. It's just doing it daily. That's the deal. And there's a famous quote, like if you don't have enough time to do what is it? I'm gonna screw it up now. It's like, if you don't have enough time to do 10 minutes of meditation, you need to do an hour or something like that. So it's like, if you're stressed, you're like, oh, I don't have time, like just make the time. Wake up 5 minutes earlier. Especially now, everyone's sitting around all day. That's kind of why I'm doing this stuff. It's like I normally save a lot of this stuff for the private lessons and the course, but because people are stuck at home all day, I want to sort of reach out and give back to people more than I normally would. That I normally keep this stuff for just lessons in my course. Yeah, people are coming in saying mindfulness changed their lives. It really changed my life too. it's such a simple thing. I mean, it's just breathing. Everything comes down to breathing. So cool. Well, I hope you guys found that helpful. If you got any more questions, feel free to just hit me up on my website. And yeah, stay happy and healthy. And yeah, catch you guys next time.